Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. So today we'll be broadcasting only through Instagram. Had a little problem with our modem, but we'll come back to the same old broadcasting system as soon as possible. So in the comments, there's the number of WhatsApp. If you want to send questions, you can send directly to me. So let's make some silence first. Who am I? That is the only question that matters. The only question that leads to liberation. All other questions lead to bondage. What am I doing here? What is the purpose of life? All of these questions lead to bondage. Maintain it. Who am I? Leads to liberation. Who am I? Directs me to the source. All other questions assert illusion's reality. Trying to find an explanation for illusion, a purpose in illusion. All that asserts illusion. Who am I? So today we're going to talk a little bit about love. So from one part we can say that illusion is fear-based, and from opposing it to it, we could say that reality is love-based, but it isn't, is love. So it's not love-based, is love. A very different love from human love, interrelation love. Very different aspect. And why is this important? Because there's this idea that love replaces everything, in the sense that when there are difficulties into meditation or other disciplines or the tests that come in the spiritual path, those who cannot go through them or are avoiding it at all costs, they tend to take refuge in love. They say, oh, but I'm loving, this will be enough. Well, it will be enough if it is enough, if that will help you to go through whatever is in front of you. Because from that perspective, that is the only help that you can get. It is the only thing that will help you to transcend your perceived limitations, because that's what they are, just perceived limitations. They are not factual limitations, they just appear to be. So each seeker of truth will stand in a crossroad where he follows love or fear. He will have to do this because fear is the boundaries of his own illusion. It is fear-based. So you may experiencing life and not feeling any fear, and you say, but I don't feel any fear, but I'm not awakened. Well, if you're not feeling fear, it doesn't mean that it isn't there. It will appear as you start doing something that goes against your pre-established illusion. That means the world as you perceive it, with its rights and wrongs. That is your pre-established illusion. And as you're doing nothing that threatens this in the slightest way, fear will not manifest. So for example, if the spiritual path is about curiosity, so curiosity means that I'm collecting more items to reshape my own illusion. So this doesn't threaten your illusion. It is feeding it. It is spiritual, it is all of that, but it's not making any difference. It is feeding. You're taking nurturing for your delusion. So no fear is arising. But eventually, at some point, it becomes more serious, and whatever you start doing starts cutting the food from that character, for that story, eliminating the character's purpose. Then yes, fear will start arising. And for that level of fear, only love makes the difference. But not any kind of love. You see, there is the next step to love. Love has to become fire-like. Then this fire-like love, this mixture of fire and love, makes love purify. And this makes possible the next step of love that will really make the difference, and that is devotion. Devotion is a much more pure aspect of this love. And These days it's common to hear people talking about devotion, but that's not an easy thing to achieve by itself, because you tend to get devoted to what suits your needs at an individual understanding, your needs from the level of awareness of consciousness that you have. And as you know, or as you should know, that is very, very, very limited. So tests come, in a sense, to help to improve the level of purity of your love. And for that you have to disengage from these fear-based reactions. It goes together. So your devotion cannot increase if you don't go through some level of fears, if you don't decide, if you don't embrace love for the divine, apart from whatever else is there. And without that devotion, without that pure devotion, you cannot go and break with these deeper fears. So let's see, someone which is in the middle of this, that has difficult tests ahead and is paralyzed in fear. But in its own understanding, devotion is there, but it's not working. So what is the problem? The problem still lies in, of course, not weakness, because weakness and strength is when things are in the right place, everybody has the strength for it, because strength comes from love, from blessing, from devotion. It is available for everybody. So what is happening with this seeker that is frozen there, cannot move, and thinks it has devotion? Well, there's something wrong with that devotion. Because when you're devoted to God, to truth, to deity, to a guru, to whatever is the source of your devotion, it is the divine. These are just ways to establish that connection. But if this devotion is being directed to whatever aspect of the divine that suits better to you, if this devotion is pure, this devotion will be the how do you say this? It will be that will help you. This will help you to go through whatever needs to be gone through. But if this devotion, this love is being directed to satisfy some personal needs, if you're directing love to the divine, so that the divine can give you blessings, can make your life become better, can give you something that you imagine that will improve, then that is not devotion. It is devotion, but devotion to yourself. It's like human love, the same. Oh, I love you, and I trust that you will take care of my happiness. This is why I love you in the first place. So I love the idea of my happiness through you. So this means that it's not you that I love, it's my happiness, my idea of happiness, in which you play a fundamental role. So this kind of vision is directed towards the divine. And when this is directed towards the divine, there's something very important, much more important even behind this, which is motivations. My motivations as a seeker of truth, they are wrong, because this doesn't make me a seeker of truth, it makes me a seeker of well-being, because I'm directing my attention to the divine as I direct it to a a partner or something like that, or another situation, a worldly situation. So I'm loving the idea of my own happiness. So the devotion is to me, not to the divine. And with these motivations behind, the motivations to improve my life, improve my well-being, these are the motivations that are sustaining illusion, taking care of illusion, protecting illusion. They are not the motivations to transcend illusion. So for this seeker of truth, this seeker of well-being in the case, truth is something that will improve, that will bring happiness. So it is something that will improve the dream and not dissolve it. So this is not devotion to the divine, it's devotion to self, little self, not to the higher self. And these seekers, most of them, they think they know what a test is, but they don't actually, because tests comes for those who have potential, real potential, but they have to stand and they have to go through things, and that is difficult because fear will arise intensely. And devotion is there at the level as it is, or you hold on to it and it improves, and it will help you in the next one. The more it improves, the more it is possible for you to go deeper. If it doesn't improve, there is a limit. There is a limit to where it can go. So you can go through little tests, little things, as you still fathom in your mind that this will be positive, this will be good, this will help me to reach truth and to be happy with all the meanings that this has in your mind. But if you're in a real process and you're being really tested, important things will start be taken from you. And this belief that this will be better for me will start to be put into check, because you'll see just go, being taken. I'm getting less and less and less, and nothing is there to replace it. So my spiritual treasures, my spiritual ambition is not being feeded, and my worldly ambitions are being taken away. And this is where it has a limit, because if it hasn't outgrown these ambitions, you cannot sustain it. So you go back. This is very important, because I've seen this again and again in different circumstances, either going through tests or with the difficulty of even establish a meditation routine or something like that. And they say, oh, this is too difficult, I will just love. But that's just love. It's actually much more difficult, especially for a Western mind. much more difficult, because it involves surrender. And surrender, you see, if you have a weak mind, someone who has difficulties in making efforts, it may think that surrender is quite easy. I can do it, so just surrender and hope and wait for it to happen. But surrender is not that easy. It's quite difficult, because, well, you take what comes and you don't struggle to change circumstance, to do anything. So it's actually much more difficult. Theoretically, from the theoretical point of view, it seems more easy because I just surrender. But that is not the case. It is very easy to surrender when things are shanti, when you're getting what you want or something similar. But when securities are being taken away, when your fragilities are being pinched, surrendering is the most difficult thing there is. So whatever weaknesses are there, it is better for you to work as sincerely as possible and don't come with these excuses, because they will hurt you in the long run. That is the thing. And now you say, oh, but that doesn't matter because fear is bigger. But when that pain begins, then it's complicated, because it will increase the level of pain present, of not going through, of not being able to do. Plus you will have this pain on top of it. And it doesn't change anything, it doesn't improve anything. And what is the purpose of pain? Well, the purpose of pain is your last blessing. To see, have you understood? To mature you through that pain. Because, well, if you embrace fear, in a sense, that fear becomes your master. Fear arises, you do what fear is telling you. That means you're turning your back into love. Because love, devotion was there as a master. If you're turning your back to love and doing what fear tells you, well, then you're choosing the path of pain. There is pain involved in both ones. Of course, as long as your level of consciousness is at that level. As your consciousness expands, as you take, as you, how do you say this, break this grip that fear has over you, then pain will reduce. Because pain has only to do with your level of understanding. More or less. So the more you face the challenges, you see, in the quest for truth, the challenges come to allow you to break through your own illusion, the boundaries of your illusion. So it points a direction to you that you feel that it's not possible for me to live. And this is not even rational. It can become, but it doesn't matter. It's, you will be overtaken by fear. Doesn't matter how rational you seem in that process. It is fear, has nothing of rational involved. The reason comes for you to give you a perception that you're not in fear. But it changes nothing. So fear is there to make sure that your illusion continues protected. And if you do what fear tells you stop, go back to where you were. If you do this, you're embracing fear as a master. If you can, if you hold on, it's just a matter of holding on to love, to devotion. Because if it's not devotion, then it is a part of your delusion. So it will not make any difference. But if you hold on to love, you'll be able to go through. It's not that it will not be painful, but you'll be able to go through. And in the first experiences of these tests, you'll be able to see the mechanics of how it works, and that at least that those fears had nothing to do with reality. Absolutely nothing. Because whatever comes next it can be bad, of course it can, but it will never be as bad as it is. But usually it isn't. if you go through the right motivations, whatever changes come will always be for the best. But if you're just hoping this, and if you see this, hoping for these changes to be like something that will improve your life, then that's not a sacrifice, that's an investment. And this will lead you to a more intense situation until these things are broken. Because something will break. Either fears will break, or either what you call devotion will break. Or you'll be in the middle just roasting, paralyzed. But eventually, one of these will break. So if your motivations are more pure, more spiritual, if they are really, if there is a real purpose there, potential, then there is a possibility, a strong one, that you can break fear and now outgrow it. It will give a lot of work, yes, but it is possible. If these things are not there, if the majority of motivations are not aligned, then breaking this devotion will be the only thing possible. And we see this more and more today. We see seekers saying, devotion, oh, this word, let me run away from it. I'm devoted to truth. The majority are not devoted to truth, they are devoted to themselves, because giving devotion, arrogance, pride, all these things have to disappear. And saying devoted to truth is better because it involves just something of receiving. And that doesn't bring any transformation. Some seekers even say, oh, you're talking about God. Oh, I run away already because these words, they are. Oh, because, yes, I remember, because they are afraid of masters and all of that. Because when they use these words, they want to take advantage. But let me tell you, like I already did, those who want to take advantage, they take up the next languages available, and they are always one step ahead. This is why they take advantage. They are not taking advantage. Everybody is trying to take advantage. It's different, but that's another, it's not for today. So being a seeker of truth, today you may find yourself as a seeker of truth, convinced that you are a seeker of truth. Tomorrow you may be questioning this as the level of tests intensify. You see, because there's this idea, oh, the divine, it's like a mother's lap or a father's lap, depending on what you're missing. But it's beyond this. It can be also this, if it helps you in any way. But if it is something that will only feed your delusion, it cannot happen like this. So, working hard as you can, is the key. And never backing down, no matter how intense is your test. Because as you back down, it becomes more difficult and more difficult. And it is possible for everybody. You just have to believe it enough, trust it enough. And what this means is to go through whatever is presented in front of you, because love, belief, faith means action. And when these tests come, they are asking you some kind of action for you to affirm, for you to be able to transcend that level of what you call the reality, to transcend your illusion. And you'll be able, if you go through it, you'll be able to experience something different from what you were experiencing previously. Okay? But it's something different, isn't it the same? Yes, fundamentally it's the same. But the impact it has on your mind, it's not the same, because you didn't believe that that was possible to be lived. That was possible for you. And as you go through these things, and you start seeing factually, having the concrete experience that what your mind was telling you about limitations, it's not real. Whatever it was telling you of what is possible, it's not, it's not real, but it's not the word. It's not absolute. This will have an impact as you go through these tests, these experiences that come after the tests, and with the growth that it brings. You will start seeing that whatever is your perception, it's just conditioned to that moment, to that level of understanding. So this will have a deep impact, not just at the mental level, but it will start breaking things inside. It will be much more difficult to believe in the fear, to be shaken by the fear. It will be much more difficult to believe in what your mind is telling you, these ideas that are coming, that are the basis of your investments at this moment. You will have difficulties in belief in illusion. Now the difficulty is to break through illusion. Then you will have difficulties. So illusion will have difficulties in sustaining itself because it is missing its primary sustenance, which is the importance that you are giving to it. And that love, as you go through the test, that love will become more pure, more intense, more strong. And as fears are not there holding on, holding you back, just so tests in the spiritual path. People tend to evaluate situations they are put through as, is this good or bad? Is this right or wrong? All these concepts, but that is irrelevant. Tests are there to provide a certain kind of circumstances to break certain beliefs that you have. They are just instruments. And according to the beliefs that are in need to be broken, the situation arranges itself for this. Sometimes it's not even the best situation from that level of analysis. But that doesn't matter. It is the purpose of the situation. It is the circumstances that it is creating. That is the most important. And it is testing your belief. It is testing your faith. It is giving you an opportunity to grow or to go back to where you were. But whatever happens, let it be pure. Let it be sincere. So in this movement towards the divine, whatever your aspirations that are not in tune, that are an obstacle, no matter how fancy they are, they will be taken out of you to give you an opportunity for your love to become more pure. Because if it's been taken from you and love continues, it doesn't reduces, then it will increase tenfold or more. It doesn't remain at the same level. Or it grows, or it diminishes. And the more it grows, it means that you have made a good decision, that you have sacrificed something worldly for the divine. So certain desires, certain motivations were left behind. You have chosen again the divine, and love in you will grow. And other things will be taken until there's no worldly motivations anymore. Until you're completely surrendered to the divine. Your love is just flowing towards the divine without any expectations. This is when it can become bliss. Because even certain fruits of your spiritual practice, of your sacrifice and all of that, the sweetness of these fruits, sometimes they cannot be experienced. Many times. Not in the beginning, because this would be a problem. This would feed also the wrong motivations that are there. This would stray you from the path. So the sweet fruits of the spiritual practice, sometimes they don't come immediately. They take time to come. They are waiting for you to be more mature, more established, to a moment that it will help. Others come right away and create some confusion, but that confusion is always apart. Okay, so if there's any questions whenever you're watching this video, you can send to that number that appears on the comments, and I will answer in the next satsang. So that's it for today. Next satsang will be Wednesday, because yes, Wednesday, 9 o'clock in the morning UTC -3 Brazilian time. Until then, evaluate what kind of love and devotion there is there. Understand reflect about these mechanics of the tests, and make the best use out of your time, because your time is very precious. You have no idea how precious it is. It shouldn't be wasted in the kind of life that seekers are wasting it right now, because for some little drops of honey, you are throwing away an ocean of bliss. And that's not a good bargain. It isn't. Okay, so till next time, make the best use.